All right. Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, we'd like to give all praise and glory to YAHAWAH, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI, BAHASHAM, QADASH. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of the great millstone that taught us this truth, and salutations to the hopeful elect that's around the four corners of the globe. And the elect begins with the 144,000. YAHAWAH, who the world ignorantly calls God and Jehovah. BAHASHAM is in the name. YAHAWASHI, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. The RAWCHAA, which is the Holy Spirit. With the brothers of the great millstone Chicago camp. I'm the brother I join with.
Shalom, the brother AHPARYAM.
Come back at you, brothers and sisters of the household of faith of the Hopeful Right Select with another lesson. And Lord, when we hope this lesson be edified through the spirit and the power of YAHAWASHI. Once again, we hope this lesson is edifying. We're just going to really touch on, these whole teen takeovers. And ultimately, Jake's rebellion as a whole, man. You got these young niggas running wild, throughout the shores of America and throughout the world, that is, man. Because even the scripture says, we shall be an infamy among the people, man. Because what is Jake known for? Every negative thing, man. And ultimately what? Jake is out here destroying cities, destroying, different buildings and things like that, man. And ultimately, 2/3 of our people just ultimately needs to go, man. So I'm gonna play this video real quick. And
can we get that Jeremiah?
Yeah, Baba Kusha.
Okay. This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 2. So if I may pull it up.
Jeremiah 2 and 21.
Yo, Jeremiah 2 and 21. Oh, I'm gonna just start at 24. Of old time I have broken thy yoke and burst thy bands, and thou saidst, I will not transgress, when upon every high hill and under every green tree thou wanderest, playing the harlot.
Hey, playing the harlot, because Israel will ultimately serve these different gods, man. Ultimately serving gods that doesn't profit them.
Verse 21. Yet I had planted thee a noble vine, wholly a right seed. How then art thou turned into the degenerate plant of a strange vine unto me?
Right, because we're supposed to be that holy nation unto YAHAWASHI amongst above all people that are above this planet Earth, man. But ultimately, we be started to become like the nations and even do worse than the nations, man. Because it talks about what? We shall overpass the deeds of the wicked.
Yeah,
because ultimately, what? Jake want to be like the heathen, and since Jake is the salt of the earth, they excel in wickedness, man. They go above and beyond, man, in all different categories. As far as wickedness, man.
God. It says Jeremiah 5 and 28. Man, I'm gonna just start at 25. It says Jeremiah 5 and 25. Your iniquities have turned away these things, and your sins have withholden good things from you.
Yeah, your sins have withholding good things from you. So ultimately, the reason why our people are not being blessed, because what? They follow their own wicked ways, man. They do what they feel is right. So ultimately, what? Instead of the blessing, the Lord put what? The curses upon our people. We loosely went into that. What was that, Thursday? As we read that Deuteronomy 28 and 1 to verse 14, going into the curses, man. And that's what the Lord ultimately sent them on our people, the curses rather than the blessings, because of our evil and wicked ways.
It's verse 26. For among my people are found wicked men.
Where you at in Jeremiah? What was that?
5 and 26.
Huh. You got it out.
For among my people are found wicked men. They lay wait as he that setteth snares. They set a trap. They catch men.
Yeah, for among my people are found wicked men. Especially, starting with these top celebrities, even the people amongst that calling themselves Israelites, man. They're found wicked men, and they catch men. They lay snares. They set these different traps to ultimately what? To heap disciples into themselves, man. To follow what they're doing. To ultimately what? To get other Israelites turned out into wickedness also, man.
God. And what's wickedness, man? The ways of this kingdom. The ways of America. The ways of
everything that's contrary to the ways of YAHAWASHI. Yep.
Verse 27, as a cage is full of birds, so are their houses full of deceit. Therefore, they are become great and waxen rich.
All right, really talking about, even, the ones of them calling themselves Israelites in this truth. Hey, what? They teach false breakdowns, ultimately what? To get money, to get fame, different things of that nature, man. And ultimately what? To capitalize off the poor of our people, man. You know, not only talking about these degenerates that's walking around, you really have degenerates within, you know, this thing of ours, man. You know, that's calling themselves Israelites, not doing the right thing, not preaching the right thing, not ultimately, you know, showing forth good examples. You know, so ultimately, what the Lord is going to destroy individuals like that, man. Because even in 1 Peter 4:17, it says what? You know, judgment must begin at the house of the Lord.
Yep.
You know, if I can grab that real quick.
It says in Ezekiel 9, you know, what it said, start, the death angels start at my...
yeah, it says begin at my sanctuary.
The ancients, yeah.
This is the book of 1 Peter 4:17. It says, for the time has come that judgment must begin at the house of Yahawah. And if it first begin at us, what shall be the end, what shall the end be of them that obey not the gospel of Yahawah? Right, judgment must begin at the house of the Lord. Ultimately, the ones that know that they're Israelites, not teaching the right thing, not doing the right thing, not leading by example. Ultimately, what the Lord is going to start off, you know, with these individuals that's call themselves Israelites. Just look at individuals like Alize. Just look at individuals like the God sent Comforter. You know, different individuals like that the Lord has dealt with throughout the years, man. And the Lord is going to ultimately ramp up, you know, that judgment, man. You know, you can finish that out right by it, and after that you can grab, I believe it's in Luke, it says, those that didn't know the Lord's will shall be beaten with few stripes, but those that did know the Lord's will shall be beaten with many stripes.
Verse 28, they are waxing fat, they shine, yea, they overpass the deeds of the wicked.
They overpass the deeds of the wicked. So we have the wicked being Esau, Edom, but since our people ultimately what they follow the wicked acts of Esau, Edom, and then they'll go over above and beyond that, man. You know, because Jake is the salt of the earth. So ultimately what, you know, things that Jake put their hands on, they exceeded, man. Yeah. You know, you see a Israelite homo, man, he goes above and beyond with that shit, man. You know, most flamboyant person you will ever see, man. You know, and that's in all things, man. You know, that's why Jake is going to be dealt with, man. 2/3 of our people, that is.
It says, I'll just read that again.
She felt the spirit. Yeah. She felt the spirit, bro.
It says, yea, they overpass the deeds of the wicked. They judge not the cause of the fatherless, yet they prosper. And the right of the needy do they not judge.
Right, they don't judge right, man. You know, they don't do the right thing. They don't judge, you know, fairly among our people, man. You know, they ultimately what? You know, they capitalize off the poor of our people. You know, talking about these, you know, so-called Israelite leaders, man. You know, and we're just talking about the wicked, you know, of our people that know that they're Israelites, man. Not even talking about, you know, these YAHAWAS that's walking around, you know, things of that nature, man.
So, hey, though hand join in hand, the wicked will not go unpunished, man, because you are forwarding your enemy's kingdom.
That's right.
Not your own nation, not your own God. See, it says, verse 29, shall I not visit for these things, saith Yahawah? Shall not my soul be avenged on a nation such as this?
And exactly right. That's why Jake is in the Lord's state right now, man. Ultimately being cursed, being plagued, because the Lord is ultimately visiting, you know, the wicked of our people, man. Beginning, you know, with these so-called Israelite leaders, man. As I read in that 1 Peter 4:17, you know, judgment must begin at the house of the Lord, man. If it first begin at us, what shall be the end of them that obey not the gospel of Yahawah, man? You know?
It says, a wonderful and horrible thing is committed in the land. The prophets prophesy falsely, and the priests bear rule by their means. It says, and my people love to have it so, and what will ye do in the end thereof?
Yeah, because judgment is coming down, man. Because I believe it talks about it in the Old Testament too. It says, only let judgment flow down as rivers or something like that. Oh
yeah.
You know, so ultimately that's going to happen to what? The wicked of our people, beginning with, you know, the ones that's calling themselves Israelites, man. You know. But I got a quick one for you, brother. I'm gonna see if I can get this in the. I'm gonna grab this in a blue letter. This is the book of 2 Peter's. Let me grab that real quick. This is the book of 2 Peter's 2, and verse 12, and it reads, "But these as natural brute beasts, made to be taken and destroyed, speak evil of the things that they understand not, and shall utterly perish in their own corruption." I'm gonna read that in the NLT too. These false teachers are like unthinking animals, creatures of instinct, born to be caught and destroyed. They scoff at things that they do not understand, and like animals, they will be destroyed. Right? Really talking about, you know, these false teachers, but we use it you know, as a whole, for the wicked of our people, man. You know, these natural brute beasts that's walking around not understanding, you know, scoffing, you know, the things that they don't understand, you know, teaching false doctrine, man. You know, starting with these Israelite teachers, man. You know, I'm gonna raise this window down for you real quick, brother.
Out the water. You still wanted that Luke?
Yeah, but let me actually go into this word real quick.
I'm gonna have it on deck.
Yep. For this word, for this word brute, allegos, and it says destitute of reason, contrary to reason, absurd, and it says unreasonable. And 2/3 of our people, you know, beginning with these false teachers, man, they are unreasonable, man. You know, and ultimately what every time we try to correct them, you know, reprove them, you know, ultimately what they take back the hand, man. They're not trying to listen to it, man. You know, so what, they're going to be destroyed. They're going to be taken unawares, man.
Yeah, like we had at camp yesterday, we had 3 Jakes come up and try to basically tell Elder Malcolm that the name was Jesus, and you know, the typical folly.
Yeah.
And when we explained that, you know, the letter J does not exist in the Hebrew, and this is a very new letter, hey, they still just couldn't receive it.
Hey, 2/3 of our people is not meant to receive it, man. You know, Isaiah 6, it talks about that, man. You know, it says, until the how long should our people be blinded till the city shall be laid waste? You know, without I'm gonna just grab it in a second, but ultimately what, 2/3 of our people are not meant to get it, man. So that's why they're out here, you know, the Lord, you know, they have that rebellious spirit. They're out here wilding out, you know, ultimately following the ways of Esau, Edom, man. You know, and to ultimately what, that they be catched by these different snares and these different traps, man.
Yeah. You reading it?
Oh, that 2 Peter 2:12? Nah, but you got it, Doc. I have finished it out.
I got a quick, you know.
Yeah, you got it, Doc.
Deuteronomy 32:15. But Jeshurun, which is another name for Israel, the nation, but Jeshurun waxed fat and kicked. Thou art waxen fat. Thou art grown thick. Thou art covered with fatness. Then he forsook God, YAHAWASHI, right? Then he forsook God, which made him, and lightly esteemed the rock of his salvation. So they're lightly esteeming salvation.
Yeah. You can read the next verse also too?
Because they wax fat, man. All right, the gift blinded the heart, man. They just living in Babylon, just fattened Jacob, like.
It talks about that in 2nd Esdras, 9 also, man. It says, you have received benefits and have not known me. You know, the same must know it after death by pain. You know, so that's what's coming to 2/3 of our people, man. You know, ultimately, when our people, you know, ultimately begin to serve different gods, serve these, you know, different nations, beginning with Esau, Edom, and their different false idols, man. Ultimately, what, they forget about YAHAWASHI. And this is not the first time, man. But, hey, what's different from this time, hey, Jake has reached an all-new level of rebelliousness, man.
Hey, it's not the first time, but it will be the last.
Yeah, it will be the last time,
It will be the last time. Deuteronomy 32:16. They provoked him to jealousy with strange gods. With abominations, they provoked him to anger.
Yeah, and that's what, you know, our 2/3 of our people did, man. You know, and ultimately what? You know, the Lord punishes us as a nation, man. You know, because you had righteous Israelites, you know, trying to do the right thing. But ultimately what? You know, you had a lot of wicked niggas also, man. You know, and ultimately what? The Lord judged us as a whole, man. So ultimately what? Hey, the Lord put, you know, the enemies over us, man. You know, the Lord put these said, you know, nations over us, you know, to devour us, man, because of our wickedness, man. You know?
It says, they sacrifice unto devils, not to power, not to the Most High, to gods whom they knew not, to new gods that came up newly, whom your fathers feared not. Hey, Jesus is a new God, man.
That's right.
That came up newly. All right?
Hey, like you mentioned, hey, the letter J wasn't created till what's that, like the 1600s, man.
And
that's a newly created God.
And the image that's associated with it was modeled after a man who lived in you know, around that Renaissance time.
Yeah, even before that, you had
Serapis
Christus. You know, the one that had a flower pot on his head. You know, I believe created by Ptolemy Sawyer, if I'm not mistaken. You know, and ultimately what? You know, these different things are, you know, reincarnated, regenerated, and ultimately, you know, reformed. And ultimately, who was Serapis Christus reformed as, man? J.E.S.U.S., man.
Yep.
You know, Cedric Beaujeu, who they ultimately depicted to be the Lord and Savior, the Son of Yahweh. You know?
Right. Which is why that one's particularly wicked.
Yeah.
Because they
identity theft.
Yeah, identity theft. They crossed out the true image of Mashiach, YAHAWASHI, like it says in Revelation 11. But again, that God got put up to be to draw away.
Hey, the undesirables, man.
But yeah, it says verse 18, Deuteronomy 32 and 18, of the rock that begat thee thou art unmindful, and hast forgotten the Most High that formed thee.
Yeah. And ultimately, what our people, it talks about, our people has forgotten the Most High days without number, or something like that. So ultimately, what, man? Our people was known for what? Ultimately, transgressing the ways of Yahweh Shem Yahushai and angering Yahweh Shem Yahushai, man. And without that covering, man, you see the people, the state of our people today, man. I want to back you up real quick, brother.
Yes, sir.
This book of Jeremiah 4:22. For my people is foolish; they have not known me. They are sottish children. Sottish means stupid. They are sottish children, and they have none understanding. They are wise to do evil, but to do good they have no knowledge. Right? To do good they have no knowledge. Yeah, a wicked ass nigga tell you how to steal another man's wife. A wicked ass nigga tell you how to roll up a blunt. A wicked ass nigga tell you these different things, but when it comes to the ways of Yahweh Shem Yahushai, they have no knowledge of that, man. They can't teach you that. They can't teach their children that. So ultimately, what? You have a generation of niggas that's coming in. That's ultimately what? That's unreasonable. Destructive. Things of that nature, man. Because what? They are wise to do evil. They're brought up to ultimately what? To do evil, man. It's 80 degrees. You got a YN with a ski mask on.
God. Yeah, that's folly. It says, this Deuteronomy 32 and 9, it says, when Yahweh saw it, he abhorred them because of the provoking of his sons and of his daughters. Hold on. I'll just be indiscreet. Verse 20, and he said, I will hide my face from them. I will see what their end shall be. For they are a very froward generation, and children in whom is no faith.
Yep, you got it out.
They have faith in America, man. They don't have faith in Yahweh Shem Yahushai. All right, so the Lord said, I'm gonna see what their end's gonna be.
That's right. Oh, I got one for you, Wak. And Lord, when I can play the video after this, but this is the Book of Wisdom of Solomon 3. And on the video we're about to play, it alludes just that, man, which I'm about to read, man. This is what these niggas are, what these niggas are showing and what's going to be their end result. But this is the Book of Wisdom of Solomon 3. And I'm going to start at verse 16. As for the children of adulterers, they shall not come to their perfection, and the seed of an unrighteous bed shall be rooted out. Ultimately what? Ultimately end up being destroyed, man. It reads, for though they live long, yet shall they be nothing regarded, and their last age shall be without honor.
Damn.
Ultimately what? You have 2/3 of our people, that's ultimately what? That's going to have a destructive end, man. Nobody is not going to remember these niggas, man. Hey, they're going to be known for what? That wicked generation who the Lord, Yahweh Shem Yahushai, ultimately destroyed, man. Or if they die quickly, they have no hope, neither comfort in the day of trial. Right, if they die quickly, they have no hope, man. That's what the Lord is ultimately going to do to these wicked ass niggas, man. For horrible is the end of the unrighteous generation. Right, horrible is the end of an unrighteous generation. Bear with us for a second. Yeah, you got to be discreet sometimes, because you just never know who may be listening. But I'm going to read that part again. Wisdom of Solomon 3:18, it says, or they die quickly, they have no hope, neither comfort in the day of trial. For horrible is the end of the unrighteous generation. For horrible is the end, because we know that what the Yahweh Shem Yahushai is coming with, a death, destruction, pestilence, the sword. You can read about that. What's that? Jeremiah 15. And I believe in Ezekiel 18. I could be wrong, talking about the four sword judgments of Yahweh Shem Yahushai, and Sirach 33. The teeth of wild beasts. The pestilence, the sword. These are the different things, the different methods Yahweh Shem Yahushai is going to use to ultimately to get rid of the undesirables of the nation. So with that being said, if I buy you ain't had nothing, can I play this video real quick? Because we were just, beginning out talking about these false teachers, but you have you know.
These teen takeovers are starting to look apocalyptic. I mean, look at this. These scenes all look like that famous scene in World War Z, a zombie movie.
Another teen takeover in downtown Detroit, and this time the violence ended with a shooting that left a 14-year-old child injured.
Here they are pushing back a police car in Chicago. Like, what is this? And then there's this in Norfolk, Virginia.
Yeah.
This doesn't even look real.
Might not be.
A fiery,
but
chaotic scene Sunday night.
You know, just to
on
play a few
Rankin
things.
Avenue.
It's a 3-minute video. We ain't gonna play the whole thing, but that whole 3 minutes just shows YNs destroying things, man. And like he said, it could never be real, but ultimately, what? Hey, this is what 2/3 of our people, this is the mindset, this is what they're ultimately doing, man. You know? And ultimately, it's going to give, you know, a reason for Esau Edom to come down heavy, man.
Yeah.
You know? And this is all by design, man, because the Lord is ultimately what? Preparing slaughter for these wicked-ass niggas, man. You know? I actually got a quick one for you, Ibaya. This is the book of Isaiah 19 and verse 17, and it reads, and in that and the land of Judah shall be a terror unto Egypt. We know that Egypt is talking about what? America, man. And you can read what's that, Deuteronomy 28 and 68. You know, the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships. You can read Revelations the 11th chapter. You know, this place being called what? Spiritually Sodom and Egypt. And the land of Judah shall be a terror unto Egypt. How is the land of Judah a terror unto Egypt, man? You just look at, you know, the what these YNs, you know, you look at what the, because Judah, you know, represents the African Americans, but Judah ultimately represents what? You know, Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, the southern kingdom. Shall be a terror unto Egypt. Everyone that maketh mention thereof shall be afraid in himself because of the counsel of YAHAWAH of hosts, which he have determined against it. And ultimately what? You know, our people is, you know, has that bad stigma about them, man. Every time, you know, these other nations see a so-called Negro, Latino, or Native American, especially, you know, dealing with Judah, they get afraid, man. You know, they back off. They don't want nothing to do. You know, hey, beginning with the so-called African Americans, they don't want nothing to do with them. You know, and ultimately, this is the state of our people, man. I believe it's another one in Ezekiel too. You allow infamy amongst the people.
Yeah. God. Infamy among the people.
Yep.
You got that?
Yeah, let me see. I think let me see. Ezekiel.
Oh, yeah. Ezekiel 36 and 3.
Yep. This is the book of Ezekiel 36 and verse 3. Therefore prophesy and say, thus saith the Lord YAHAWAH, because they had made you desolate and swallowed you up on every side, right? That's what these other nations have done to our people, beginning with what? These Edomites, man. You know, mainly the Amalekites, you know, took our nationality, took our heritage. You know, ultimately what? You know, they gave us these different proverbs and bad words like African American, Mexican American, you know, these different sorts, you know. And it reads, and swallowed you up on every side, that ye might be a possession unto the residue of the heathen, and ye are taken up in the lips of talkers and are an infamy of the people. Right, and how we are infamy of the people, because Jake is known for every negative stigma, you know,
Exactly.
in the land, man. You know, we're known for every negative thing, man. You know, first fire, last hire, you know, a baby mama drama, you know, things of that nature, man.
Yeah.
Hey, but YAHAWASHI is going to get rid of these 2/3 and, you know, beginning with the elect, man. The Lord is going to what? Glorify the nation again, man.
Exactly.
But you got it, anything you got?
Kind of this Exodus 30 or Exodus 23 and 2. Thou shalt not follow a multitude to do evil, neither shalt thou speak in a cause to decline after many, to wrest judgment. You know, thou shalt not follow a multitude to do evil.
So essentially, if 100,000 niggas doing some wicked shit, you go right, man. You don't follow these niggas to do some foul, you know, degenerate shit, man. You know, you got that other one like Baya, how it talks about, you know, they think it not strange that we run with them.
Yeah, kind. It's First Peter. Let me just get it right here. 1 Peter 1 and 4. Or Salakia. 1 Peter 4 and 1. It says, actually, I'm gonna just start at 3.
First Peter 4, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
For the time past of our life may suffice us to have wrought the will of the Gentiles. All right.
So essentially, our people having that heathenistic mindset, man. You know, because it talks about it. What's that? Either 1 Corinthians 12 or 2 Corinthians 12, it says, you were once Gentile, carried away unto strange idols, man. You know, so ultimately what? Our people been in that Gentile state of mind, but you have those that's ultimately waking up out of that madness, man. You know, coming back to the truth, coming back to YAHAWASHI.
It says, when we walked in lasciviousness, lusts, excess of wine, revelings, banquetings, and abominable idolatries.
And that's what the wicked of our people today, 2/3 of our people, that's what they're currently involved in. Lasciviousness, you know, banqueting. So you can look up a few of those words, like if you can.
Yeah, man, like
you know, wild parties.
like that Sueños festival going on downtown right now.
Yeah, we was down there. What was that yesterday for camp, man? You know, you have women dressing provocatively.
You got all these Northern Kingdom faggots, you know.
Yeah, I seen a lot of that too down there. Yep. Yeah.
That Bad Bunny spirit. It says, yeah, man, lasciviousness is unbridled lust.
Right, so you essentially, you know, individuals can't control themselves, man. You know, unbridled lust, man. You know, ultimately having a wild sexual appetite. You know, things of that nature, can't control the flesh. You know, give it to any and everything, man. You know.
This is revelings, because this was ancient Rome. This goes back to ancient Rome, and we're still in Rome. We're in the modern day Roman Empire. So it says for revelings, komos, because this is what they used to do. It says a nocturnal and riotous procession of half-drunken and frolicsome fellows who after supper parade through the streets with torches and music in honor of Bacchus.
Yeah, so ultimately having a wild, good-ass time, just like these people was doing today, man. You know, ultimately what? Having, you know, doing some wild shit, wild parties, you know, strolling throughout the streets, man. You know? And whether they know it or not, they giving tribute to these different gods, man. Just like back then, just like today, man.
Yep, that's exactly. Yeah, abominable idolatries, man. But,
You know?
verse 4. Alright, it says, wherein they think it strange. I'm gonna read that again. That's 1 Peter 4:4. Wherein they think it strange that ye run not with them to the same excess of riot, speaking evil of you.
Yeah, because ultimately what? When the Lord wake us up, you know, the Lord separate us from this world, man. And from the different ideologies and different ways of this world. And the Lord changes us by the renewing of our mind, and we ultimately begin to walk different. And the people looking on the outside in, hey, they ultimately look at us as what? Lames, bums, you know, different, you know, everything under the sun, because what? We're not doing the same things that these wicked ass niggas is doing, man. You know? What, you not a faggot? What?
Like,
you know, they think it's strange when you don't follow different, you know.
Like, we're just going to the concert, bro. We're just going to the festival. We're
just all type of weird shit, man.
That's how it is, because they think it's strange. Like, they don't get it.
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean?
You don't smoke weed?
Yeah.
Yeah, like what?
It says, and that word for strange is zenidzo. And it says to surprise or astonish by the strangeness and novelty of a thing. To think strange, to be shocked.
Yep, to be strange, to be shocked. All right, so looking on the outside in, man, because this world is, you know, completely overshadowed by wickedness. So when you're ultimately speaking righteousness or you're moving in a righteous way, man, and we're looked at as strange, man. It's shocking to them, man. You know? Because in this world, wickedness is looked at as righteousness, and righteousness is looked to as wickedness. You know?
Well, it says in Ecclesiastes, folly is set in great dignity.
The rich sit in low place.
And the rich sit in low place.
Yep.
It says the poor man's wisdom is despised.
Yep.
You know? So what's everything that's exalted in this kingdom is, you know, the will of the Gentiles. Everything we just read, lust, excess.
Yep.
Just do as thou wilt. The flesh is reigning supreme.
That's why in Romans, what's that, 13, the last verse, it talks about give not let me just grab it real quick, you know, really, since we're on the topic of the flesh right now, because, you know, hey, 2/3 of our people, and these people in general has given themselves over to the ways of the flesh. But this is the book of Romans 13:14. But put ye on the Lord Yahawashi Mashiach, and make not provision for the flesh to fulfill the lust thereof. Right, you're ultimately giving your flesh an opportunity, leisure, you know, to ultimately what? To do all type of degenerate, foul acts, man. And these people has given themselves over to the ways of the flesh, man. You know, so they have no self-control of what the things that they do, say, all type of things, man. And ultimately what? Their flesh has rule over them, man.
And that's scary because that's going to reap corruption, man.
Yeah.
Just-
You got something up?
Yeah, go ahead.
This is the book of Amos 9 and verse 10. All the sinners of my people shall die by the sword, will say the evil shall not overtake nor prevent us. And exactly right, man. Hey, 2/3 of our people feel like there's no repercussions for the things that they do. But ultimately what? That's their mindset. Hey, nothing is not going to happen to us, the things that we do or things that we say. But ultimately what? The Lord is coming down with that sword. The Lord is coming down with that judgment at the end of the day, man.
This is Proverbs 2 and 10. When wisdom entereth into thine heart, and knowledge is pleasant unto thy soul. Right? That's pretty much the opposite, because knowledge, to the hopeful elect, man, knowledge is pleasant unto our soul, but to them they think it's strange.
Yep.
They think it's strange, but it says, when knowledge is pleasant unto thy soul, discretion shall preserve thee, understanding shall keep thee.
You know how the scripture talks about, you know, wisdom shall meet thee at every thought. Hey, it's the opposite for these niggas. Wickedness meet these niggas at every thought. You know, they try to put a foul spin on everything,
Hey,
man.
it said their thoughts were nothing but wickedness.
Yeah, it talks about
continually.
that in Genesis. You know, the
Genesis,
man's
yeah.
heart was continually evil, you know, something like that. And that's why the Lord flooded the earth, man. You know, because of the vices of men. And we're saying the same things that's going on today, man. We're really talking about our people, man, that has been corrupted by this wicked lifestyle, man. Ultimately, what? We're, you know, hey, ultimately, Jake, because it talks about the ways of the wicked seduces them. So ultimately, what? They're seduced by the ways of Esau Edom. You know? That's why we got the scripture. Hey, they overpass the deeds of the wicked, man.
That's why we need the scriptures. We need the Holy
It's a
Spirit.
guideline.
It's the only. It's
Yep.
wherewith shall a young man cleanse his way,
Yep, Psalms 119.
by
Yep.
taking heed unto thy word.
Uh-huh.
If not, you know, you would destroy yourself. So it says, Proverbs 2 and 11, discretion shall preserve thee, understanding shall keep thee, to deliver thee from the way of the evil man, from the man that speaketh froward things. It says, who leave the paths of uprightness to walk in the ways of darkness, who rejoice to do evil and delight in the frowardness of the wicked, whose ways are crooked and they froward in their paths.
You got it out.
Yeah, man. So everything, this kingdom is froward, man. It's wicked. It's contrary. All right, they rejoice to do evil. It's crooked. It's not straight, man.
Hey, they are wise to do evil, but to do good, they have no knowledge. You know?
The truth is straight. It's upright. You know, the serpent, he's crooked. All right, their ways are crooked. They try to get around what YAHAWASHI said.
I got one for you real quick, God. This is the book of Baruch 4:1. This is the book of the commandments of the Yahweh and the law that endure forever. All they that keep it shall come to life, but such as leave it shall die. Right, so ultimately what? If you know, 2/3 of our people, they're not trying to abide by the ways of YAHAWASHI, it ultimately leads to a death style type of culture, man. You know? But ultimately what? Keeping the ways of the Lord, following the ways of the Lord to the best of your abilities, it leads to a lifestyle, man. It leads towards life. You know, I was just talking to, you know, we had one over this topic, me and Dunya had one over this topic. What was that, Friday? In the scripture that ultimately reads that, hey, the knowledge of wickedness is not wisdom, you know? And that's what our people practice in, man, you know? Verse 2, it says, turn thee, O Jacob, and take hold of it. Walk in the presence of the light. And what is the light, man? It's beginning with YAHAWASHI, this knowledge, wisdom, understanding thereof, that thou mayest be illuminated. You know, ultimately what? Hey, so the knowledge of YAHAWASHI can shine within you, man. You know?
Because we just read it in Proverbs 2 and 13. They leave the paths of uprightness to walk in the ways of darkness.
That's right. Hey, it grows darkness.
Grows darkness.
Hey, it talks about that. It grows darkness to people, man. You know, and our people, 2/3 of our people is seriously in that gross darkness, man.
Because they're not acknowledging the ways of God, man.
But anything you got, boy.
I mean, I could just finish this chapter. It says, verse 16, you know, talking about wisdom, you know, preserving you, to deliver thee from the strange woman, even from the stranger which flattereth with her words. which that strange woman is basically going into lies.
Yeah, different philosophies, different lies, doctrines, things of that nature, man. And the same thing the serpent gave Eve, you know, going back into the garden, man. These different philosophies, another way that's contrary to the ways of YAHAWASHI.
And it's likened unto that strange woman because it looks good. It's it's enticing.
Yep.
It's enticing. Like, damn, I want to deal with her.
I believe, you know, the vision John the Revelator was given. He was enticed, you know, by the woman, which is America. You know, the different alluring ways.
He marveled.
Yeah, he marveled. Yep. You know, because ultimately, what? That's like what these people are doing. They're marveling the ways of this world, man. You know. And I believe the angel had checked them. I believe it was the angel that checked John the Revelator. He said, "Why are you marveling at, you know, this woman?" You know, something like that, something along those lines.
Yeah, I mean, we were all dealing with the strange woman.
Yep.
Before we came into the truth, man.
That's right.
Then we got Sophia. You know.
You can tell it's gonna be a demonic ass day today.
Yeah, she claimed though.
Yeah.
It's verse 16, to deliver thee from the strange woman, even from the stranger, which flattereth with her words, which forsaketh the God of her youth, and forgetteth the covenant of her God. For then, like, this is what the brother was talking about. Everything, once you go outside of Yahweh Shai, it can only lead to death.
Oh.
For her house inclineth unto death, and her paths unto the dead. None that go unto her return again, neither take they hold of the paths of life, that thou mayest walk in the way of good men, and keep the paths of the righteous.
Yep.
For the upright shall dwell in the land, and the perfect shall remain in it, but the wicked shall be cut off from the earth, and the transgressors shall be rooted out of it.
Hey, the transgressors shall be rooted out of it, man. You know, ultimately what? Because the Lord is doing the culling. The Lord is getting rid of the undesirables of the nation, man.
The transgressors.
Yep, that's right.
He's gonna get rid of the transgressors of our nation, and then he's gonna get rid of the nation which is the wicked. It says they're gonna be cut off from the earth.
Yep. As I read that Wisdom of Solomon 3, and what was that? That Wisdom of Solomon 3, you know, last few verses says, horrible is the end of an unrighteous generation, man. You know? But I got one more to back you up by Bahia, because this is what, you know, 2/3 of our people really should be doing, man, which they're not. This is the book of Jeremiah 6:16. It says, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, stay in the ways and see and ask for the old paths. What is the old paths, man? The ways of YAHAWASHI. Where is the good way, and walk therein, and ye shall find rest for your souls. But they said we will not walk therein. And right, that's the rebelliousness of 2/3 of our people, man. They said we will not walk therein because what? They're comfortable being, you know, under the wicked vibration of Esau Edom. They're comfortable and following the ways of Esau Edom. They're comfortable in, you know, doing these different things because there's no
discipline.
That, but it's another word I'm looking for. Accountability for it. Yep. They don't have to be accountable for their actions being wicked, man. You know, Esau Edom gives these people a license to sin. You know.
God. And sin is transgression of the law.
And we were given the laws.
And we just read it that the transgressors are going to be cut off. So it's not optional. Like, this is the laws. This is the, like, look, in America, you got to follow the laws, right? Well, on earth, you have to follow the laws of YAHAWASHI, or else eventually it's going to catch up to you. You're going to get judged for that. The transgressors are going to be cut off.
That's right.
You know? And in the kingdom, there's it says, what? All of my people will be righteous.
Yeah, because you're going to have the 2/3 coming in, what? Through the loins of the elect, man. You know? And all of us is going to be perfect, and all of us is going to be righteous, man. You know, even the 2/3 that's going to be ushered back into the kingdom through, you know what? The loins of the elect. You know, the elect man.
Okay.
So that's all you have,
yeah,
brother?
yeah.
So with that being said, we hope this lesson was edifying. I want to end out by giving our praise and glory to
YAHAWAH,
BAHASHAM, BAHASHAM, QADASH. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone who taught us the truth, and salutations to the hopeful elect that's around the four corners of the globe. Lord, we hope this lesson was edifying. Till next time, YASHARAHLA, Shalom and a Baba Ball. Till next time, Lord willing.
Yes, sir.